into the NFL season in 2023. It's a lot that we didn't see coming, and it's a lot that was pretty predictable. It's a lot that we know and a lot that we don't know. One thing that I do know is that being a Falcons fan, my entire life of being a Falcons fan, all I ever wanted was for us to have a defense to go along with our consistent offense that we've had through the years and through different quarterbacks. And finally, we have a defense. Our defense has arrived. I mean, Jesse Bates, the safety that we picked up from Cincinnati, is worth every damn penny that they spent in the offseason to bring it, because he brings a new look, and the defensive line that we have is just a total remake. It's just a good look. But what's saddening and what just bothers me to the core is the fact that I truly believed that Desmond Ridder was going to show some promise this year, and that he would get past some of the early bumps in the season and from the end of last year and be a decent quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Boy, was I wrong. Desmond Ridder, ladies and gentlemen, is not an NFL quarterback. Regardless of what his status may say or his paycheck may say, he is not good. I don't even think that he is worthy of being a damn backup. Atlanta is paying Taylor Heineke a whole lot of money to be a backup, and I suggest Arthur Smith better make some moves. Or is it that Desmond Ridder may not be as bad, but Arthur Smith is not as good as we are portraying him to be as an offensive mind? I don't know, but something needs to get fixed, because you cannot tell me that with Atlanta finally having a defense the way that they have, getting off the field, all I ever wanted was for my defense just to get off the field. We don't have to create turnovers all the time. Sometimes a 3 and out is good enough. But when your defense is getting off of the field and the offense is going 3 and out, there's a damn problem. And we have too many weapons. You don't have to be a Falcons fan to know that. You can just look. We got a lot of shiny cars on the team. Bijan Robinson, the rookie that we have. We still got Tyler Algiers from last year. We got Drake London, a big 6'4" wide receiver. And we got a unicorn of Kyle Pitts with an offensive line that Pro Football Focus ranks in the top 5, even from last year. But yet we can't score any damn points. It's a shame. So one thing that I do know so far in the quarter of the season is that Desmond Ridder ain't that guy. He is not him. Now, looking at some of the other teams in some of the divisions have formed and shaped out so far as we predicted before the season, right? You look at the AFC East. I told you I like Buffalo at the top with Miami trailing behind. I mean, the Dolphins might as well call Josh Allen their daddy, because Josh Allen has owned them for the last few years. They just can't get over the hump. And the Dolphins are great this year, but so are the Bills, and it's like Buffalo has their number. Both teams have somewhat deficiencies, but let's give them credit. Buffalo's here. The Dolphins are slightly right behind them, but that division is shaping out what we thought it would be. Now, nobody foresaw, Aaron Rodgers getting hurt for the Jets, but their defense is still great, and they're still hanging in ball games, but they need a big-time win this week to keep their hopes of making the playoffs alive. And the New England Patriots, even though I don't know what that was against Dallas last week, but they've been competitive, and they're going to compete as long as Bill Belichick is their coach. So the AFC East, if you look at it, it's aligned pretty much how we predicted it. Now you go over to the AFC North, it's shaping out a little different. Somewhat I called in the beginning, because I said that Baltimore was going to be the cream of the crop of that division. And yes, it's still early, but you got them at the top, and you got the Steelers and the Browns both, tied with 2-2, but it's a lot of football to be left. I got some questions about Pittsburgh. I just really don't know. I told you the offensive line wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And, the jury was still out on Kenny Pickett. Cleveland Browns, they got some issues with head coaching and Deshaun Watson. I mean, if Deshaun Watson was truly hurt and said he couldn't go, he knows his body, right? But why is the coach, Kevin Stefanski, coming out and just throwing him under the bus and said he was cleared to play, but the reason why he didn't play was his decision? It's some trouble brewing in the locker room, and plus, y'all know Nick Chubb is gone for the season. And, Cincinnati Bengals have their own issues. They don't look the same. I told y'all before the season started that with Josh Burrow having a hurt calf, that doesn't that doesn't project well because the calf is connected to the Achilles. And if you look at him, he just looks very stiff in the pocket. And you can't go 17 weeks in the NFL being stiff in the pocket when you're going up against top tier defenses, even the ones in your division. Now, a surprise is the AFC South. You look at the AFC South standings. Everybody in the AFC South is 2-2. Nobody predicted that. I mean, if you look at the Colts, Anthony Richardson is as good as advertised. My problem with him is that I hope he can stay healthy. Because when he stays healthy, their offense moves, man. I mean, and they create game atmospheres where it's like, you know, if he's healthy and he's playing, other teams got to play catch up and keep up with that high pace that they play at. And the Texans, what a surprise, right? I mean, my man, DeMarco, he's got them boys balling, man. They don't have all the talent in the world. But C.J. Stroud, he might be him. C.J. Stroud really might be him. C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson might really be the two top-tier quarterbacks coming out of last year's draft. I mean, everybody looked at Bryce Young. Is he too small? And this and that and 30 is number one pick. I'll say my reservations for Bryce Young a little later. But I personally felt that C.J. Stroud was the most NFL-ready quarterback in the draft last year. Just saying. That's what I thought. Tennessee Titans, that defense is going to keep them in games, but the run defense, shall I say, because they can't stop anything. They can't stop a nosebleed in the pass game. They got some issues, and they also have some issues on offense. I just don't know what's going on with Tennessee, but either way, they're still tied with the mix with also Jacksonville Jaguars, who pulled it out in London in their second home in London. They play in London 2 weeks in a row, which is unheard of. But, I mean, they're all tied 2-2. Same record. Nobody really saw that coming. And then you got the AFC West pretty much shaping up the way we thought. You know, I said that Kansas City would be the cream of the crop of that division. And nobody, listen, don't get fooled by Kansas City's slow start as far as from a scoring perspective. Andy Reid is still trying to figure things out, what he has at wide receiver. And, you know, of course, other than Travis Kelce and some of the pieces they have. To their standards, they've started out the season a little slow, not scoring as many points, but please do not feel bad for Kansas City because it's a lot of football to be played, and they know how long the season is. They've been there, done that. But the rest of the division, you know, I don't know what's up with the Chargers. I told you I don't trust Brandon Staley. I never liked the head coach for the Chargers. I thought the offense would progress a little bit better. I know they have injuries such as Eckler and, of course, Mike Williams, which is sad to see. He's out for the season, but they still have enough weapons. And as long as Justin Herbert is your quarterback, you still have a chance. But sometimes that defense is a little shaky, and they're supposed to have a defensive-minded head coach, which, you know, really doesn't make sense. And you got the Raiders who, let's just face it, they ain't it. Neither the Broncos, who's pretty much a dumpster fire. But going over in the NFC, starting with the NFC East, it's shaping out a little bit like how we thought. Philly was supposed to be projected as the cream of the crop, 4-0. That's what they are. And they look every bit of the part. And Dallas at 3-1, looking every bit of the part. But, I'm going to caution you on both of these teams because it's a lot of football to be left. And in the end of October and the beginning of November, we're going to really see what Philly is sitting on because they've had some little questionable games, even though they pulled it out and they're 4-0. But guess what? Near the end of this month and going into October, they got to play the Dolphins. They got to play the Chiefs. They got to play the Buffalo Bills. And they got to play the 49ers, all within about a 5 to 6 week span. So we're going to see if Philly is really built like that very soon. And then with Dallas, hey, they got to go to San Fran and play the Sunday night game against the 49ers. So we're going to see what they're working with as well. So just pump your brakes a little bit, but they are the cream of the crop of the NFC East because let's face it, Commanders are not that. And the Giants are just straight trash. They're dumpster fire. Going to the NFC North, shaping out a little bit, pretty much like how we expected it to shape out. I did tell you that Detroit, I felt, was the cream of the crop. They're at 3-1. You got Green Bay at 2-2. And then you got the Vikings hanging on to a 1-3 record. But the Bears might be the worst team in the NFL. Well, they are the worst team in the NFL this year. But some people question, are they the worst in history? I say the franchise is poorly ran. I would happily, for all y'all that say that Justin Fields cannot play football, I would happily take Justin Fields in Atlanta right now. Somebody make the call. Speaking of the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South, I mean, you got the Bucks sitting up top barely, but then you got the Saints and the Falcons all at 2-2. Falcons could easily be 4-0 if we had a quarterback. Definitely could be 3-1, but that's neither here nor there. And then you got the Panthers, who are straight dumpster fire, trash as we predicted, with their efficiencies, or shall I say deficiencies, in the offensive line. No weapons for the young rookie quarterback, who just hasn't looked like a number one pick thus far. But maybe it's coaching. I digress. But then, of course, in the NFC West, it's shaping out pretty much how we predicted. The 49ers, of course, 4-0, are the cream of the crop. Bit of a surprise with Seattle. I mean, 3-1. They've been going on the road, winning some tough games this year. They went on the road and beat Minnesota. They went on the road and just beat the Giants on a Monday night. Pete Carroll has them boys rolling, and they got weapons, but they've been playing a little bit above their head. And speaking above their head, I mean the Rams. I give it to Sean McVay. Sean McVay is a brilliant football mind. He has the Rams playing a little bit above their head because they don't even have Cooper Kupp yet. And this boy, Poku, you know who I'm talking about, if you know, the wide receiver, who is just a monster right now. And you got Tutu Atwell. And they even got rid of Cam Akers. I mean, I guess he was a little sour in the locker room, but they wanted to get rid of that and bring in some new blood. But the Rams are a tough team to play. And speaking of a tough team to play, look at the Cardinals. All you Cowboy fans, y'all didn't see that coming a couple weeks ago when them Cardinals tearing that ass up. Y'all didn't see that coming. I didn't either, to be honest with you. But they have a tough team, and they don't even have all of the pieces. Of course, they're not as talented as most teams, but they play with a lot of grit and a lot of heart. So look, it's a quarter into the season. We got week 5 coming up. There's a lot to be determined in this early season. We got a lot of football to be left, but I just wanted to come in and tell you just what I've been seeing so far. Just saying what I see.